When I first started my business adventure, I really only had one thing in mind. And I know a lot of you aspiring business owners know what I'm talking about. It's obviously money, right? And at the time, that was just my idea of success. But something funny happened. With this new idea I implemented, the days where I made the most money were often the ones where I felt the least whole. In those days, with just a couple clients, but more connection, were the times I felt the most fulfilled. So it was this dichotomy between the experience and the goal, which I originally wanted, that taught me one of the biggest lessons in my business career. Today, our culture is completely obsessed with outcomes. For a business owner, that's make more money, get more clients, and increase revenue. But I'm telling you this as a person who owns a service business that's almost completely human-to-human interaction. It would probably be better to shift our focus. I see that when I implement a process-oriented thinking, I get better long-term performance. And it's not just me saying this. The science backs this up. Employees in highly engaged environments have up to 21% higher productivity and 22% higher profitability. And 88% of customers, in fact, say the experience matters more than the business and product itself. And 86% say they will pay higher for better customer service. And I see this in my business as well. Obviously, people come for a haircut, but they come for more than that. They pay and they tip for the experience. But oftentimes, when we're talking about these philosophical questions, it helps to look back into the past. Aristotle, for example, coined 3 terms to help us navigate this question of meaning: instrumental goods, final goods, and eudaimonia. An instrumental good is something you do to reach another destination. It could be that money that buys you that car that you always wanted, that you'll be happy driving. But a final good is a little different. It's something that we value in itself. That could be joy or connection. Finally, eudaimonia roughly translates to flourishing, a life well lived. Aristotle believed that fulfillment doesn't come through having things or getting things, but through living well day to day. And he wasn't the only part of the only ancient culture to understand this. The ancient Hindu culture understood that karma, every single one of your intentions and every single one of your actions, has a direct effect on your outcome. But if we fast forward a little bit to the future, in a time with a lot of grieving during the 1920s and the Great Depression, one man named Ernest Hemingway really set out to solve this problem. Among him and his peers, they viewed a lot of dissatisfaction, and the question of meaning was one that needed to be solved. His solution? The bullfighting philosophy. The bullfighting philosophy states that it's not about what you do, but it's about how you do it. There's always room to be disappointed with the outcome of your actions. You might never reach your expectations. But you can never be disappointed in yourself if you put forth your best effort. So let's put all this philosophy into action. Day 1, this is a result and outcome-based day. I come home from school at 1:50, having a long week, and I see 7 clients. I tell myself, I really don't want to do this, but I guess there's some money at the end. So I fight through the day, I don't talk to a single one of my clients, and I have a lot of money at the end of the day. But somehow there's something missing. So I changed the approach. And on day 2, I only have 2 clients, but I make the most of it. With each one, I ask them about their day, how their life has been, and what I can do to improve. I truly engage, and the lasting effect is obvious to me. But again, this is not just a feel-good sentiment. Loving what you do has measurable outcomes. Teams high in engagement see higher customer loyalty, improved sales productivity, and higher profitability. And we can see multiple examples in other places as well. It could be Kobe Bryant, who woke up every morning at 4:30 a.m., not because he wanted to win the championship, but because he knew his process was one that would give him a championship. It could be Messi, whose doctors told him he'd never grow past 5 feet, who sat and practiced every day, not because he wanted the world to recognize him as the best player, but because he knew he was going to be the best player. So, before you go and book your next appointment at Trig Cuts, I want to ask a favor from all of you guys. Whether you're a barber like me, a doctor, an engineer, or just a student at Bell, focus less on the numbers. Focus on the doing, and focus on the craft. Because that's why discipline always beats motivation. Because motivation is an urge to reach a goal, and discipline is the practice of a process. Thank you.